I'm at Parc des Rapides in Montreal, Quebec, and I've got a impromptu, really cool interview. I'm going to sit down with Stefan Sobkowiak, who is a friend of mine and the author of the DVD, The Permaculture Orchard. Some of you know him as from his farm, the Miracle Farm, and we're just going to talk about some stuff he's doing and just kind of riff on farming and ideas. And this is an impromptu thing. I was in town briefly on my way back to Kelowna, British Columbia, while I was in Quebec visiting Jean-Martin Fortier. So let's get into it. All right, Stefan, how are you doing?
Great.
This is funny because it was a totally impromptu connection. I was in Montreal and I put a post on Facebook and Stefan saw it, and here I am. So you're about to go to Europe.
Yeah, for in a couple weeks, for a month.
And the first place you're going is, well, I'm just gonna wait till these women pass. So you're heading to Europe and France, Belgium, where else are you going?
That's it, France and Belgium this year.
And how many dates have you got?
4.
What kind of stuff are you gonna be talking about on this trip?
Well, we have a 2-day course, Permaculture Orchard course in French this year. They're all in French this year.
Yep.
And hope to record them to eventually do an online course like you're doing. I'm here to learn from him. This guy has a lot to teach, man. A lot to teach. Yeah. That's great.
That's awesome. And you know, how has it been going? So the Miracle Farm now is how many years running?
I would say the permaculture orchard version of it, because we had it for over 25 years, but the redone version of the farm with the permaculture orchard, it's been since 2007, so it's 9 years. This is the ninth year
in production. How was this year compared to previous years?
This year was a kind of test year. We wanted to test how much work it actually takes.
Yeah.
So we've had a lot of questions always from people. How much can I manage and so on. And what we really saw this year is it's amazing once you get set up, the work goes way down. Like after 5 years, there's a lot less work. Once you're actually set up.
Once you're established.
This year we wanted to see, can one person manage the farm?
Yeah.
And in fact, it ended up in maintenance time, because we divide between maintenance time and project. Project is anything that'll improve.
Yeah.
But just keeping it going the way it is.
The day-to-day.
Day-to-day, what we need to do. It's 50 days in the year. 50 days of work to do.
That's pretty crazy. I mean, I guess that's the difference between the kind of farming that you do versus the kind of farming I do, is that, you know, annual vegetables require so much day-to-day
green slavery.
Green slavery. But in the perennial context, once things are mature and in production, I mean... And
they're getting better and better and less work.
Yep.
The trees are set, they're mature, they're producing.
Yep. You're not pulling weeds every day, you're not turning beds over.
Actually, we did it took a total of 5 hours to weed almost 5 acres this year.
5 hours to weed 5 acres. Now there's a good metric. An hour an acre. Just gonna move this a bit closer.
Yeah, that was our test to see, and really the only weeding we do is weeding out trees and a couple of weeds that we don't want to have because they're
like the invasives or something like that.
More like spiny or things that would stick to you, burrs type, anything like that we don't want in the orchard, just because of the number of people we have coming through.
Yeah.
And the trees, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah.
The rest, we get plants come in and say, hey, we haven't had that plant, let's let it go and see what it does.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's not, it's really low maintenance.
It's kind of fun to be able to do that, hey, to be able to experiment and just kind of try different things. So what I'm curious about is, because Stefan and I have met in a few different places traveling. I think the first place we met was in California at it the second in Permaculture Voices? And I travel a lot too for speaking, and I've always found that you never stop learning. And if you do, then you probably should do something else.
That's it.
What have you learned in your travels? Because you've probably gone to more countries than I have. You've been in Europe and stuff like that. Is there anything that you've kind of picked up on that people are doing that you're going, hey, I like that, I want to do that?
Probably one of the most important, it depends what you're looking for, you and for what I'm doing, small scale. you have to get into Europe. Europe is absolutely appropriate to small acreage, small size. Because for them, a 2-acre field is a farm.
Yes.
A lot of times a farm is 1 hectare, 2 hectares, that's a farm. And so for them, what we're doing is absolutely appropriate. 2 of the events that I'm doing is to combine orchard rows, permaculture orchard rows, in a vegetable planting. So you'll have a number of beds and then you'll have a row. But why not? You get the windbreak effect and you get the production of the fruit.
And I mean, the beauty of that idea is that if that farm is in its inception, you can get immediate cash flow on the annuals.
Absolutely.
And then you get a long-term return on the perennials. I've always liked that idea, and it's almost like thinking in a business sense, the difference between a checking account and a savings account.
Absolutely.
It's like, that's your cash flow, spending cash, get it going, reinvest that money to things that will have a long-term return.
Yeah, so, and you were asking about learning. To me, that's the learning part, is I always recommend people start with vegetable production in a permaculture orchard. They add it because while the trees are small, for 3 years you have gravy trained vegetables. I mean, they have plenty of sun, they'll grow really well, and you've put in the infrastructure already for the tree rows, so why not add some vegetables in there? And they're so easy to grow when you have in my case, it's with a plastic mulch or
absolutely.
You're just putting your holes in, growing them. And it's very easy. So you can actually be profitable in the first year if you amortize your planting of trees over a 10-year span. You can be profitable in the first year, even though you've planted the orchard and you're growing vegetables.
Do you think that if you had like a few things or 5 things or whatever of when you're looking to spec out a project like this and you want to do this, what would be some of the things that you would say to somebody getting started to do before they even,
Start right now. That's the first thing.
There you go.
I mean, it's fall time. This is absolutely, we planted some trees of 3 rows last week. It's a great time to plant. This is the best time of the year to plant trees and shrubs. So I recommend to everybody, look into the permaculture orchard model, but just take the idea of trios, which is 3 trees in a repeated pattern. And I say to people, look, if you have at least room to put 2 trios, just start this weekend, put it in. Because you will learn, you don't know how long before you'll actually get into planting your orchard or adding it to your vegetable production. But get 2 of those trios in, because you will learn with those the same as if you had 100 of those.
That's exactly it. That's so, such good advice.
The same for your clientele. Just put 1 bed in. Just put a bed in.
Just get something going.
You'll get something going. It's, I had a teacher who used to say, start is 50% of the work done. And it's true.
It's true.
Because if you get started, and you can plan till you're blue in the face or you wear out your 50 pencils, but just start, you'll make the same mistakes with 6 trees as you would with 6,000, and it'll cost you a heck of a lot less making it with 6.
That's right. It's something that's so undervalued in the sense that people don't even think that there's the value in the experience. People are so afraid of failure that they think,
Curtis and I give you permission to make mistakes.
To fail.
Go fail. Go fail this weekend.
Fail hard. Fail forward.
And that's really what it is. It's sad, but people almost need a little push to say, go ahead, make some mistakes.
That's right.
And it's liberating. A lot of people find it so... I made mistakes and feel great about it, and you will feel great about it. Because it's not a mistake. You get it in your head that
that's it.
That's not failure. It's feedback. One of the permaculture principles.
Exactly. And it's just so funny that you get better at failing too, right? And then you get more comfortable at it, and then you become less fearful of it, and then you get to a point where you're willing to try anything really quickly if you think there's a shot that it'll work. Hey, just do it. You don't have to spend $10,000 to make that mistake. You can spend $100.
And I find a lot of times it's not even to know that something will end up as a viable product or something. Sometimes it's just for your own education to say, you know what, you can read about something for a long time. And you got to be careful. I've noticed the more you learn on a certain area, the more you know that there's things written that are real BS. I mean, they're written and you go, why did they write that? Well, because somebody else said it and somebody else. So you get the telephone effect.
The telephone effect. Yeah, exactly.
And unless you actually test it, test it out.
Yeah.
We have the thing about, juglone, juglone's so dangerous. I got apple trees planted right next to black walnuts that are doing great. And one thing I learned from that was, yes, the trees can produce juglone and it can affect the fruit tree, but only when that nut tree is stressed.
Yes. Okay.
And if it's not stressed, and now I realize it makes total sense. Why would a tree spend energy producing juglone when it doesn't need to?
It's so interesting because it's almost like the economics of nature. There's these sort of universal truths when you think, like you just said, is why spend the energy if there's going to be no immediate effect or benefit to one thing? Because it's interesting, because even in nature I find that everything acts in its own self-interest. Like even the single-celled amoeba to the lion in the jungle, things act in their own self-interest. But they're not going to do that if it costs them something and hurts them in the long run.
That's right.
So if there's mutual benefit to it, that's where we all win. It's beautiful.
Nature is so beautifully made. I mean, I'm sure you've seen it with weeds.
Oh, sure.
Weeds are not really a problem. They're a great indicator in the first phase.
Yep.
And even in the next phases, you get certain weeds, you go, you know what, they're just telling me my soil has plenty of fertility. I don't need to be extra fertile in additions.
Yeah.
So,
those are still, honestly, those are some things that I'm still learning. I mean, and I hope to never stop learning them, and I'm always trying to find new things to learn about, different types of farming, and that's what's just so exciting about this whole sector right now. And so kind of going on that, what do you see right now in the horizon? Like, what are some really things that are exciting you that's happening in sustainable agriculture, permaculture, organic farming, whatnot?
I think, if you I look at the farming community, and a lot of times the average age of farmers is getting older, and they're kind of wondering, isn't there going to be anybody to, take over? And it takes a while to learn even your basics of farming.
Yeah.
And so what I find the most exciting and seeing in the teaching and all the interactions is there's a lot of interest from young people.
Yes.
So, and oddly enough, but it makes sense, a lot of times it's some of the most intelligent people who are looking to get into farming.
Yeah.
And why? Because farming, I'm sorry, but you can't be a dumb farmer. You can't function profitably if you're really not using your gray matter properly. And there's so many things to learn. You have to learn about nature. You have to learn about the soil. You have to learn about technology. You have to learn about equipment. You're always learning, and when you learn one level, then you go, you know what, all of a sudden a new opening comes up and you go, oh my gosh, I really didn't know a whole lot in this area. And so it's never ending.
Yes.
And one of the things about that is if you're not learning like that, you get bored.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm of the kind that if I did something for a long time, I really get bored fast. So this is interesting enough because there's always new things. So right now what's interesting me is the idea of how to convey to more people, because right now I'm limited. When we do these courses, you can only get 30, 40, 50 people in a course at one time. And yet there's hundreds, if not thousands of people who really would benefit from that information.
Yes.
So how to learn, that's why when I saw, hey, you're interested, I said, yeah, I could learn from him. Just how to transfer that information out faster to more people.
Yes.
Because you realize, I don't want them to struggle. We struggled in the beginning. There's a large learning curve.
Huge.
And so how can you give them a real big boost? And when somebody gets that jump start and they go, hey, it's not that hard.
Yes.
You get the basics, you apply them, and you go, hey, I'm already where he was after 15 years.
Yes. That's incredible. I think that's something else that excites me too, is that we see these younger people getting into it. But what I also like on the flip side of that is that there's this generation of older folks that see the young people getting into this, and that also creates opportunities, because this cliche that you need to buy land, you need to own land, we have all these older folks that don't want to leave their farms. They don't want to pass off their farms to development. And people need to understand there's so much opportunity in that. And there's still so much knowledge out there right now today that exists. And yes, some of those older farmers might not be doing everything that we want to do, but there's some valuable information, whether it's pounding posts for fences or building barns. Some of this stuff hasn't changed in hundreds of years, and there's still so much knowledge that's there.
I always tell people, if you're going to go on a project, if you're going to take on an area, first thing you do, find the old timer who either worked that land or who was neighbor to that land, and really sit down with them. They know, oh yeah, you just go over there, that's where the spring was.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, there used to be a pond there and they filled it in.
Yes.
All these, they know the history of the site that you would save years.
Yes, and doing the research to figure that out.
And a lot of times you can't figure it out.
That's right. That's right.
Absolutely use that. That's a gold mine. Finding out that local information that people know about the site in particular, and the fine details of it is incredibly important.
Exactly. So, Steph, you are going on the road, and you're going to be in Europe. Can you just tell us real briefly where you're going to be and when you're going to be? I know that most of them are sold out, so maybe there's a chance some people can get in there real quick. But what have you got?
Actually, I put a post on a couple weeks ago about the tour and what the dates and the events will be where.
Okay, I'll share that link below.
Okay. Starting on the 17th until the 6th of December, 17th of November to 6th of December, there's a few events. Belgium, France, 3 places in France, and we're going to actually take advantage to visit some projects that are that's the great thing about traveling, is you can really see what other people, there's no better way than to learn from other people who are doing it.
Exactly, that's perfect. If you guys have found that helpful, please hit the subscribe button right now, like and share these videos with your friends, and check out my website, theurbanfarmer.co, for my book, online course, all that stuff, and also follow the links below for links to Stefan's stuff and his European tour. All right, see you next time.